There are multiple elements to a complete Elder Scrolls build. First, there's your weapon or spell of choice, whether that's a sword, staff, your hands, conjuration, or destruction, for example. Then, there's your choice of armor. Light, heavy, in some cases medium, and robes. More than likely too, everything's enchanted, as those are necessary buffs for late game performance. Then you move into jewelry. There are powerful amulets as well as rings. While you can only don one necklace in the Elder Scrolls, most of the franchise's titles lets you wear 2 rings. These rings can be incredibly powerful, completely altering your character's stats, buffs, abilities, and build. The other day, while recording a video, I made the smallest Lord of the Rings reference. It probably went in most people's ears and out the other. However, for one reason or another, it stuck with me. I was particularly thinking about rings. Then, one thought led to another, and finally, I landed on this topic. What's the most powerful ring in the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion? Honestly, I know it's a tall question. Doesn't your class matter? Doesn't when you acquire said ring matter? And wouldn't enchanting your own gear be the best thing to do anyway? Well, in today's video, I'm going to answer all of those questions and more. I'm going to find the best ring for all 21 of the pre-built classes in Oblivion. That's everything from warrior, thief, and mage to crusader, healer, pilgrim, and witch hunter. Then, I'm going to see if I can find the best well-rounded ring for any class, as after all, there are 2 ring slots for each character. Alright, to begin, I'll lay down some groundwork here. All rings will be in their best possible variation, which is typically when the player is around level 25 plus. This is just so it's technically an even playing field for all enchantments. While you can more than likely enchant some powerful rings, for the sake of simplicity and for the universal experience, no self-enchantments are allowed here. If it doesn't already exist within the game, then it's off limits. Okay, let's get warmed up with a couple of different rings. These are just to show off what's out there, and aren't necessarily topping out any list. There are a whole bunch of rings that exist in the game, and I think you'll be surprised to see what some of the effects are. For starters, if you see yourself facing off against casters or atronachs, the weather word circlet that's given to the player via unfriendly competition might be a great choice. It offers the player 35% resistances to both fire and frost. Let's say you're rolling through a dungeon like Sardavar Lead, and someone casts either Snowball or Burning Touch, 2 spells that do 10 damage points each. Those now get brought down to 6.5 points. This could be huge for players who either have natural weaknesses to the elements or who frequently deal with enemy mages in their spawn. Although, if you're playing as a Dark Elf or a Nord, the obvious drawback would be that half of the enchantments are pretty much worthless to you. On the subject of rings with specific uses, let's talk about the Ring of Sunfire. This is often one that I forget about. The Ring of Sunfire is gifted to the player after completing the quest, Order of the Virtuous Blood. It has the enchantments of Reflect Spell for 25% and Resist Disease for 35%. Considering the plot of this quest has the player facing off against vampires, this ring definitely would have come in handy before the fact. Now, let's say you're taking on an undead dungeon, either with vampires or with necromancers, zombies, ghosts, skeletons, the works. This piece of jewelry will help you against most spells, and it'll assist you in fending off harmful diseases like porphyric hemophilia or brain rot. Those snowball spells will still have you taking 10 damage, but now 2.5 of those hit points get inflicted on the attacker. Reflect Spell is an incredibly versatile enchantment, and is one that almost any class can benefit from. However, the same cannot be said for Resist Disease. If you're playing as an Argonian, you're already completely resistant to all of them, so it really won't have any effect on your character. Staying around that area, the next warm-up ring is the Black Band. This one is given to the player after completing the quest, A Watery Grave, which is part of the Dark Brotherhood. Unlike the last entry, this ring is given to the player fairly early on into their journey through the faction, making it a great addition to the Assassin build. The Black Band fortifies light armor and security for 18 points and adds an 18% resistance to magic. For any stereotypical assassin characters, these buffs will benefit you greatly. Light armor and magic resistance for if you run into any trouble while out on contract, and security for getting into restricted doors and containers. Of course, if you're going the non-traditional route and instead are playing through the Dark Brotherhood as a knight, for example, this ring will be of no use to you. Alright, some quick rapid fires before we officially get into the subcategories. The Ring of Eidolon's Edge is given to the player after completing the quest, Whom Gods Annoy. This one is fairly basic, but sometimes keeping it simple is a great way to go. It fortifies both block and blade for 15 points. Essentially, any melee character can benefit from it, and knights and warriors in particular will find it most useful. The Ring of Stamina can be bought from certain vendors or found in certain dungeons, depending on your overall level. It fortifies the wearer's fatigue and health by 25 points each. Every character needs to worry about their health, and everyone should be conscientious of their fatigue as well. Having an extra buff to those stats is universally useful for all players. On the subject of rings that can be found in the wild, there's the Ring of Vitality. This ring offers 100% resistances to disease, paralysis, and poison. You'll never have to worry about catching collywobbles or astral vapors ever again. On the same note, say goodbye to antidotes, elixirs, and cures that were needed when, say, facing archers, rogues, or anyone else who could poison or paralyze your character. Then the last of the warm-up rings is the Jewel of Rumer. This is given to the player after completing the quest, Go Fish. It grants the wearer with water breathing, and it fortifies athletics. Water breathing is useful for most classes and builds, barring Argonians. Meanwhile, practically everyone can benefit from athletics, as swimming and running are universal activities. Alright, with a small appetizer of rings out in the open, let's go on to the main event. What are the best rings for the 21 pre-built classes of Oblivion? The best ones to get out of the way early on are the Warrior, Mage, and Thief classes. Each class actually has a generic enchanted ring that was designed to buff all of their respective skills. These are rings that can be bought from vendors or found in dungeons. For example, the Warrior class has a Ring of War. It fortifies armor, athletics, blade, block, blunt, hand-to-hand, and heavy armor, all for 10 points each. If you literally picked Oblivion's pre-built Warrior class, this benefits you in every single way. Even if you customize a class and only picked, say, 4 of the 7 major skills, it's still an amazing buff to your character. Then, for the Mage class, there's the Ring of Wizardry. You probably get the picture by now, but it fortifies alchemy, alteration, conjuration, destruction, illusion, mysticism, and restoration, all for 10 points each. Then lastly, for the Thief class, there's the Ring of Treachery, which pretty much offers the same sort of deal. 10-point fortifications to acrobatics, mercantile, light armor, security, sneak, and speechcraft. Interestingly, unlike the previous 2 rings though, the Ring of Treachery only has 6 enchantments, neglecting to add a buff for marksmanship. Why that is, honestly, I'm not sure. I don't have any theories or ideas why that could have been. Maybe it's just one of Oblivion's little mysteries. In any case, these are pretty much the only classes that have rings specifically designed for them. The following 18 don't necessarily have that, but here's what's tricky about them. I would say almost all of them could easily benefit from the 3 aforementioned rings, as a lot of them are just slight variations of the 3 main classes. With that being said though, I'm going to try and offer up alternative rings wherever I can, and trust me, there's plenty to choose from. Also, as an aside, it's hard to pick a be-all end-all ring for these classes. It really does depend on your playstyle, as some major skills might see more use for others. With that being said, I'm going to consider all of the aspects that goes into each class and pick a ring based off of that. First, let's look for a ring for the Acrobat. Their major skills are acrobatics, blade, block, marksman, security, sneak, and speechcraft. Their attributes are agility and endurance, and their specialization is stealth. Technically, the Ring of Treachery wouldn't be a bad choice for this class either, as it hammers home 3 of their 7 major skills. However, for the sake of not repeating choices so early on, I'll have to go with the Ring of Lordship, Dementia version. This ring is acquired by completing the quest, Ritual of Dementia in the Shivering Isles. It grants the wearer with 32% Chameleon, fortifies endurance for 20 points, and adds a 55% resistance to poison. This gives the Acrobat invisibility, allowing for an even stealthier approach. It also gives them more fatigue to perform their various maneuvers, and the poison resistance is an added bonus. Next, there's the Agent. Their major skills are acrobatics, illusion, marksman, mercantile, security, sneak, and speechcraft. Their favorite attributes are agility and personality, and their specialization is stealth. For this one, I think the Ring of Grey would be an excellent choice. It can be acquired after completing the mini-quest, the Rosethorn Cache. It detects life for 50 feet, fortifies acrobatics, marksman, security, and sneak for 5 points each, and adds a resistance to poison for 50 points. Honestly, it's an incredibly versatile ring. Similar to the Ring of Treachery, it'd be incredible for almost all stealth-based classes. Then there's the Archer. Their major skills are armor, blade, blunt, hand-to-hand, light armor, marksman, and sneak. Their attributes are agility and strength, and their specialization is combat. If you pick the Archer class, I think it's fair to say you're mostly working on your marksman skill. Bows are your number 1 choice, and most other skills come second to it. There are a couple of rings out there that fortify the marksman skill, but perhaps the one that's most dead on is the Grand Ring of the Archer. It can be looted from a dungeon or bought from a store. It fortifies the wearer's marksman skill for 10 points. This has a direct effect on how much damage is dealt with bows, making your character even more deadly. Up next, there's the Assassin class. Their major skills are acrobatics, alchemy, blade, light armor, marksman, security, and sneak. Their favorite attributes are intelligence and speed, and their specialization is stealth. Already, you can see how similar some of these classes really are. There are a few minor differences between them, but for the most part, they offer somewhat identical experiences. For the assassin, I really don't think you could go wrong with either the Ring of Grey or the Ring of Treachery. Both offer amazing buffs for stealth-based characters who specialize in silent takedowns. Then there's the Barbarian. Their skills are armor, athletics, blade, block, blunt, hand-to-hand, and light armor. Their favorite attributes are speed and strength, and they specialize in combat. To me, a Barbarian wants to move quickly in battle while maintaining their heavy strikes and overall fatigue. Due to them not having thick skins of armor, they need to maintain their health as well. Because of that, I'd give them the Ring of Stamina, the ring that buffs both fatigue and health for 25 points. This gives them an extra edge in close combat while providing a little extra protection from damage. Moving on, there's the Bard. Their skills are alchemy, blade, block, illusion, light armor, mercantile, and speechcraft. Their attributes are intelligence and personality, and their specialization is stealth. To me, the Bard is a good example of how some classes are capable of mashing a bunch of different skills together and still making it work. The Bard focuses on specific skills for each specialization, which makes it easier to focus on leveling those skills. For this ring, I decided to focus my pick around the personality attribute. Because of that, I went with the Ring of Lordship, Mania version. This ring is given to the player after completing the Shivering Isles quest, Ritual of Mania. The ring grants the wearer with a 20-point buff to personality. This has a direct effect on both mercantile and speechcraft. Not to mention, it also adds an 80% resistance to disease and 26% shield. These enchantments can be utilized whilst out adventuring and collecting stories of your heroic deeds. Up next, there's the Battle Mage. Their skills are alchemy, alteration, blade, blunt, conjuration, destruction, and mysticism. Their favorite attributes are intelligence and strength, and they specialize in magic. To me, I've always thought of battle mages as wizards who have a little more caution. They don't throw all of their eggs in their proverbial magical basket and rely heavily on their melee skills in combat. There are a lot of different routes to go for the battle mage. Do you take the buffs for the arcane, or do you take the boosts for your combat skills? Well, considering magic takes up the brunt of their major skills, I think I'll focus on the arcane for now. Furthermore, a great well-rounded ring would be the Sorcerer's Ring. It can be acquired via looting or buying and offers spell absorption for 25% and fortifies magicka for 25 points. This makes for great defense against spellcasters and gives you extra magic in the tank for tricky battles. Then we have the Crusader. Their skills are athletics, blade, blunt, destruction, hand-to-hand, heavy armor, and restoration. Their favorite attributes are strength and willpower, and they specialize in combat. The Crusader seems like a class that dabbles in the basics of magic, offensive and defensive spells, while mostly relying on their power and melee combat prowess. To me, the Ring of War works perfectly here, as 5 of the 7 major skills are affected by its enchantments. Otherwise, the Ring of Stamina could also be an excellent choice. To offer up a different perspective, the Ring of Namira might not be so bad either. It mostly provides defensive buffs that technically any class can benefit from. This ring is received by completing Namira's Daedric quest. It reflects damage for 12% and reflects spells for 10%. While it doesn't greatly boost either of those abilities, it is one of the only items that offers both enchantments. Considering every battle is either with a magic user or with a basic damage dealing NPC, there's no losing here. Alright, moving on, there's the Healer. Their skills are alchemy, alteration, destruction, illusion, mercantile, restoration, and speechcraft. Their attributes are personality and willpower, and they specialize in magic. Similar to the archer, if you play as a healer, I'm assuming you mostly want to focus your efforts on restoration and alchemy, maybe allowing for a follower or a summon to handle most of the fighting. Either way, you can't go wrong with the Ring of Wizardry, which again nails down 5 of the class's 7 major skills. If you wanted some alternative routes, the Grand Ring of Willpower fortifies your willpower by 10 points, directly affecting alteration, destruction, and restoration. Otherwise, a Grand Ring of Restoration or Alchemy would do the trick too, depending on which avenue you prefer. Both offer a 10-point fortification to their respective skills. Next, there's the Knight. The Knight's major skills are blade, block, blunt, hand-to-hand, heavy armor, illusion, and speechcraft. Their attributes are personality and strength, and they specialize in combat. I've always thought of knights as the tanks of Oblivion. Thick layers of armor, two-handed weapons, and tons of health. The Ring of War tackles 5 of the 7 major skills and would make for an excellent choice, but there are other options too. The Mind and Body Ring is given to the player after they complete the quest, Mystery at Harlan's Watch. It fortifies strength by 8 points and reflects damage for 8%. Both of these enchantments would prove incredibly useful while out on the battlefield. Alternatively, the Ring of Stamina also works, but given how exhausting a lot of a knight's movements can be, two-handed weapons, heavy armor, lots of fighting, the Grand Ring of Vigor, which fortifies fatigue by 55 points, makes for an excellent choice. Then we have the Monk class. The Monk skills are Acrobatics, Alteration, Athletics, Hand-to-Hand, Marksman, Security, and Sneak. Their attributes are Agility and Willpower, and they specialize in Stealth. Honestly, I can't think of a better focal point for monks than their hand-to-hand abilities. Because of that, I have the perfect ring in mind. In fact, I've been waiting for this one to pop up. The Ring of the Iron Fist can either be purchased or found. It fortifies the wearer's hand-to-hand skill by 25 points, and it reflects damage for 33%. For starters, that punch buff is a game changer at all levels of Oblivion. Considering the only way to deal more damage with your fists is by leveling the skill, you'll need all of the enchantments you can get. Furthermore, since fists have the shortest reach in the game, you're bound to take more hits from your opponents. With that being the case, having 1/3 of their damage reflected right back at them will be incredibly helpful to close out the battles. Moving along, there's the Nightblade. Their skills are Acrobatics, Alteration, Athletics, Blade, Destruction, Light Armor, and Restoration. Their attributes are Speed and Willpower, and they specialize in magic. I've always thought of Nightblades as magic-based assassins. However, given that Sneak isn't in their arsenal, it seems as though they're more of a caster-agent combination. Even so, I think they'd benefit from the Ring of Khajiit. It's given to the player through Meridia's Daedric Shrine quest. It grants the wearer with 35% Chameleon and fortifies their speed by 10 points. This essentially grants the Nightblade with invisibility and allows them to make even swifter movements. With those enchantments accompanying their blade skill, they can now be considered arcane assassins. Next, there's the Pilgrim class. The Pilgrim's major skills are Armor, Block, Blunt, Light Armor, Mercantile, Security, and Speechcraft. Their favorite attributes are Endurance and Personality, and their specialization is Stealth. Honestly, the Pilgrim was a hard one for me to place. It feels like it's trying to accomplish a lot, the jack of all trades, master of none approach. The aforementioned Black Band might not be a terrible piece to have for this build. It fortifies light armor and security for 18 points, offering extra protection in battle and a buff to their utility-based skill. At the same time, there's an 18% resistance to magic that comes with it that will always be useful. Now, alternatively, the Pilgrim's major skills are governed by 5 different attributes. The Circlet of Omnipotence that's found in the Forgotten Chest at Pale Pass offers a 3-point buff to 4 of the 5 attributes: Agility, Endurance, Speed, and Strength. Depending on how well you're spreading your time with each skill, that might not be a bad way to go. Then we have the Rogue. The Rogue's major skills are Alchemy, Athletics, Blade, Block, Illusion, Light Armor, and Mercantile. Their attributes are Personality and Speed, and they specialize in combat. Now, the Rogue is an interesting one. They too have a mishmash of skills, but their affinity towards daggers and quick combat is what stands out to me. The Ring of Eidolon's Edge from Whom Gods Annoy is straight to the point with its blade and block buffs, adding 15 points to each skill. This could prove great for a rogue's effectiveness in fast-paced melee combat. An alternative choice for the rogue, which benefits a different style of gameplay, could be the Ring of Skimming. This ring can be bought or looted, and it grants the wearer with a 20-point buff to both speed and athletics. It also gives you the ability to water walk. This ring is mostly used for a quick getaway. After an ambush or a successfully committed crime, you can bolt off and even escape via bodies of water. Moving on, we have the Scout. The Scout's major skills are Acrobatics, Alchemy, Armor, Athletics, Blade, Block, and Light Armor. Their attributes are Endurance and Speed, and they specialize in combat. Similar to the Pilgrim, the Scout is another hard one to place. They're like an altered version of the Acrobat. There's a lot of focus on their maneuverability, but the main difference is that they replace all of their stealth skills for combat-based ones. Now, for the fun of it, I think I'll put forward the idea of the Ring of Wartcraft for this one. This ring can be purchased from Filanu Halalu and Skingrad, provided your mercantile skill is high enough. It fortifies luck, endurance, and alchemy for 5 points each, yet drains intelligence by 10 points. However, given intelligence isn't really a governing skill here, I think the scouts can take the hit. With the Ring of Wartcraft, they now have extra endurance for their fights and can brew more powerful potions for aid. Now we're on to the final 3 pre-made classes of Oblivion. Next is the Sorcerer. The Sorcerer's major skills are Alchemy, Alteration, Conjuration, Destruction, Heavy Armor, Mysticism, and Restoration. Their attributes are Endurance and Intelligence, and they specialize in magic. Given their Heavy Armor skill, I'm assuming the Sorcerers are comfortable with getting up close and personal in fights. While my obvious choice for them would be the Ring of Wizardry, as it affects 6 of their 7 major skills, there are other options to choose from too. The Sorcerer's Ring would go great here, as it would for any caster class, but perhaps there's a ring that could be best suited for the Sorcerer class. Honestly, this ring is very OP, and I'm sure a lot of you have been waiting to hear about it. The Mundane Ring reflects spells for 35% and offers a 50% resistance to magic. Essentially, with this ring equipped, you take half a spell's damage and inflict 1/3 of the originally intended amount back to the attacker. It's incredible for fighting against spellcasters and is one that any mage would be lucky to have. Honestly, any class would. While it is a random drop, if you're over level 22, Raven Cameron will have the Mundane Ring on him during the quest, Paradise. The second last class is a Spell Sword. Spell Sword's major skills are Alteration, Blade, Block, Heavy Armor, Destruction, Illusion, and Restoration. Their attributes are Endurance and Willpower, and they specialize in magic. Spell Swords feel like an in-between of a Battle Mage and a Crusader. They offer an even mix of magical and practical skills, and to be honest, that's what makes it difficult. There are hardly any rings that mix and match like that. I know this has been a common theme for the last few classes, but at this point, there aren't many other original rings out there. So I'd point you towards the Sorcerer's Ring, the Mundane Ring, Namira's Ring, or the Ring of Stamina. The first three offer protection and buffs for spells, while the last one is mostly focused around health and fatigue. Alternatively, to make the choice even more muddled, the Ring of Wizardry or the Ring of War could be great options as well. Considering there are 4 magical skills and 3 practical ones, I'd say the edge goes to Wizardry. Then the final of Oblivion's 21 pre-designed classes is the Witch Hunter. Their skills are Alchemy, Athletics, Conjuration, Destruction, Marksman, Mysticism, and Security. Their favorite attributes are Agility and Intelligence, and they specialize in magic. Now, literally taking the name Witch Hunter at face value, I have the perfect ring or 2 for this class. Number 1 is the Ring of Vitality. It gives 100% resistances to diseases, paralysis, and poisons. These are all effects that can be utilized by all sorts of dank and dark creatures, allowing for the player to hunt their unholy marks without any problem. The Ring of Sunfire is also a great choice. Even though it only offers a 35% resistance to disease, that 25% for Reflect spell is excellent when facing off against spellcasters. Alright, with 22 favorite rings out in the open, let's answer the final question. What's the best universal ring in the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion? One that any class, race, star sign, and build could benefit from. Well, a couple of the aforementioned rings could, in theory, fill that role. For example, the Mundane Ring is useful for pretty much all players. At some point in Oblivion, you're going to face off against spellcasters. That's when magic resistance and Reflect spell will really shine. Plus, the percentages are pretty big, with the Mundane Ring being one of the best enchantments for Reflect spells. Not to mention, it's the ring with the highest gold value in the game. I know that it doesn't feel like it means much, but if Bethesda thought that this should be the most expensive fingerpiece in Oblivion, that's probably saying something about its power. However, if you're a stealth character, your top priority might not be a defensive ring. You might want something offensive or utility-based. But the Black Band, Ring of Eidolon's Edge, or Mind and Body Ring won't really benefit mages. It mostly helps fighters and assassins who use blades. In that regard though, the Sorcerer's Ring greatly benefits magic users, but some characters don't touch magicka at all. The Ring of Stamina can also be a great choice. Who doesn't want buffs to health and fatigue? However, is that really what's best for casters? You can probably see by now how this is a hard choice to make. Well, what about utility-based rings? Everyone needs them, right? You might consider the Ring of Happiness, a ring that I haven't touched upon yet. It's given to the player after completing the quest, Final Resting in the Shivering Isles. It grants Feather for 70 points, Light for 20 feet, Water Walking, and fortifies the user's personality by 10 points. Every character is going to need to talk to people, and while a mage can cast all of these spells, it lightens their load a bit, right? Or how about the Ring of Khajiit? Chameleon for 35% and Fortify Speed for 10 points. It's always fun to go invisible, and it never hurts to run a little faster. Well again, the issue is that Chameleon really only works if you sneak around. Not everyone likes to go stealth mode. Not everyone likes the light enchantment either, and you'll more than likely have to take it off during the day. So, what's the best choice for rings then? Well, the Circlet of Omnipotence isn't bad, a 3-point fortification to agility, endurance, speed, strength, and willpower. The only class that doesn't benefit as much is Bard, as they have intelligence and personality as their favorite skills. On top of that, 11 of the 21 pre-built classes only have one favorite attribute that gets benefit from it, so it may not be as good of a choice as, say, the Mundane Ring. Well, what if I told you there's a much better version of the Circlet of Omnipotence, a ring that I've yet to touch on in this video, the ring that truly rules them all, and even Bethesda knew that by giving it its name. This is a ring that could have been brought up for every single entry, and because of that, I crowned it Oblivion's best one. There's a very good chance that a bunch of you have been saying it from the get-go, and for good cause. For me, the Ring of Perfection takes the cake. The Ring of Perfection's enchantment is quite simple. It fortifies all of the wearer's attributes by 10 points. The ring can be found either by looting or by checking stores at high levels. For classes like Pilgrim, Bard, Nightblade, and Spellsword, whose major skills are governed by more than 2 attributes, this is a fantastic acquisition. Even if you're a warrior, thief, or mage who mostly relies on 2 of the attributes, it's still a great pickup for your character. What makes it the best ring in my eyes is that it's completely universal. Every class can benefit from those buffs. No one needs to turn the ring away since it won't fit into their build. Even if you're going lucky, high roller, RNG, everything into luck build, you still get a plus 10 to that attribute. While there are a lot of close seconds to the Ring of Perfection, probably the Mundane Ring and the Ring of Stamina, the Ring of Perfection takes the cake as the best and most universal ring in the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below on what choices you'd make for each class and for the top ring of Oblivion. Until next time, keep on adventuring.